Our next speaker today is Bob Raymer, and he is representing the California Building Industry Association. And he'll be talking about EV charging infrastructure and operations at the apartment and condo operator and builder perspective. So take it away, Bob. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for inviting me today. I'll get into this in just a minute, but I wanted to take a moment to sort of add on to what was just mentioned in the last panel. Indeed, HCD's new regs that take effect in January of 2023 apply to new multifamily construction, but HCD also adopted a retrofit measure. And specifically, when new parking facilities are added, or electrical systems or lighting of existing parking facilities are added or altered, and the work requires a building permit, 10% of the total number of parking spaces added or altered shall be electric, basically EV capable. And given the fact that HCD updates their building standards every 18 months in CalGreen, this is sort of the starting point for retrofit, but as always, HCD never rolls back, they move forward. And so this is a good sign, but there is a retrofit measure in the new standards that take effect. And by way of background, in addition to consulting for the Building Industry Association, which focuses on residential, I also am a technical advisor to the California Apartment Association, which is key to the issue that we're discussing today, along with several commercial entities. So with that, I know that you've got a lot of speakers today, so I'm going to jump right into it. Our projections for 2022 will have a total of 122,000 new units built this year. And that's the combined number for both multifamily and single family. This can be broken down into 66,000 new single family and 56,000 multifamily units. And I'd like to say that over the years, up until 2009, it was usually 1/3 multifamily and 2/3 single family. But that has since changed. There's a new normal in California. And for the past 12 years, we're now seeing roughly an even number of multifamily and single family built. Largely due to not only the economy, but the fact that most local jurisdictions want to see a higher density housing. Now, regarding the existing housing stock, we have a total of 14 million dwelling units, with just over 1/3 being multifamily. That means that we've got at least 5 million existing apartments and condominiums throughout the state of California. Now, some of the challenges that we're coming up to, these are, I'm sure, going to be very clear to the most of the people on this call who live and breathe EV charging, but keep in mind, this is going to be kind of new stuff to a lot of the others that are out there. One of the biggest challenges, particularly for retrofit, is the local existing electrical grid. This is because most of these electrical grids were designed some 60 to 70 years ago. Yes, they can absolutely be upgraded, but that's going to take time and money. For example, the city of Palo Alto, which of course is very pro electrification and pro EV, estimates a need of about 160 million in local grid upgrades to prepare for EV charging and electrification of buildings. They're already looking at ways to finance that, but once again, this is one of those, bumps in the road that we're going to have to deal with. And so what is the most efficient way to get adequate power to EV owners with as little impact on the grid? Kudos to Sven out there. He's been doing a good job of educating a lot of us in this area, and it's looking like low power level 2, EV ready and energy management is going to be a big help in this area. So once again, thanks to Sven's for bringing this to our attention, but this is in the code. And as we take the 25% EV ready and bump that up in rulemakings to come, I think low level is going to be carrying the day. There's also parking facility design. Some multifamily parking design lends itself very well to EV charging and EV retrofit, some does not. Now, the most challenging is going to be the open air parking lot, unsecured parking that does not offer assigned parking. That's probably some of the most affordable type of multifamily housing stock that's out there, where you've got basically flat open air parking lots on each side that's immediately adjacent to the building. But that's going to be a challenge. Because you're going to have a lot of EV charging that's going to be taking place out in the middle of the parking lot, not along a sidewalk where it's relatively easy to do the trenching and whatnot. A big issue here, as you've already heard, is financing retrofit. That may involve increasing panel sizes or adding electrical panels, installing conduit and wire and outlets that are secure. And depending on the parking layout, this could involve trenching and then repaving. And of course, a lot of this gets quite expensive over the course of time. That's one of the reasons why HCD is sort of aggressively going after new construction. Very understandable. And a part that you can't really handle in the building code per se, and that is managing these charging facilities. We need to ensure that both the tenants and the management have a fair system for operating EV charging. While some of these groups were not involved during the development of the standards, once they start getting applied, just like our water submeter law that took effect about 8 years ago, they will become very active. You're going to have some tenant groups that are going to make sure that those without EVs aren't subsidizing the cost of those with EVs. But once again, these are issues that are solvable, and certainly the energy management systems that we've heard so much about will be helping with that. There's of course long-term maintenance that we always have to deal with. It's not just with EV charging, but just about anything out in the parking lot or in the common use areas. And of course, this includes preventing vandalism whenever possible. This is especially important, once again, in these unsecured parking facilities that are exposed to the elements. A recent survey in the Bay Area found that 25% of the EV chargers were in need of maintenance or weren't working at all. Once again, we need a support system to help tackle this problem. Now, what are some of the things that we can do in the short term to help with the implementation of these new standards going forward? Two big ones that I'd like to focus on today. The first one we've already heard is incentive funding. What industry, the building departments, and the private sector need is one-stop shop for incentive funding. And we're going to be reaching out to the Energy Commission and others to basically start compiling all of this data. But the private sector needs info on local, state, and federal incentive funding for retrofit. And the easier this is to get to, and to once again, to get to it basically with the least amount of trouble on the part of the apartment manager or owner, is to have a one-stop shop. We need a singular place to go to, provides easy to understand options for incentive funding. Now, a great example of how this works is the Energy Commission's new solar home partnership program. I've got to tell you, this program on its own helped increase market penetration of solar on new homes, skyrocketed from less than 1% in 2012 to 30% in 2020. Absolutely fantastic. This is why the transition to the solar mandate in 2020 was so smooth. And we'd like to see the same thing for EV charging. And another one, which is going to be relatively simple, and it's sort of a request of all of those that are listening today. We need examples of acceptable compliance. We need lots of them. In addition to having 10% of the parking spaces EV capable, permit applications for new apartments that are submitted after January 2023 are going to require 5% of the parking spaces to have fully functioning EV charging equipment. That's for apartment complexes with 20 or more units. But more importantly, another 25% are going to have to be EV ready. meaning those parking spots must provide access to low power level 2 voltage. And most apartment designers have never dealt with this, and they're going to need help. The same goes for the contractors and the code enforcement personnel out there. Given past practice, this needed help can come in the form of illustrations that shows what constitutes acceptable compliance. Now, we've been doing this for years to show compliance with the disabled accessibility regulations, the fire safety regulations, namely the wild urban interface regs, and of course, the energy efficiency standards. The Energy Commission develops a compliance manual that is loaded with hundreds and hundreds of pages of illustrations on how to do window systems, wall systems, roof systems, you name it, they've got it. And I have to tell you, when you're reading the building code alone with no illustrations, it can be quite confusing to the novice. And while many of you take this stuff for granted, you're basically going to be reaching out to thousands and thousands of designers, contractors, building owners, plan checkers, and building officials, and of course the site inspectors, who basically have no background in this at all. And we really need your help. Now, thousands of these people with little or no EV charging experience are going to desperately need a crash course. So there's opportunity for teaching and training there. CBIA, the American Institute of Architects, the Apartment Association, and most importantly, the California building officials all have websites and local chapters that have monthly meetings. And this is going to be a very easy way to get a massive amount of information out on a statewide basis. It's worked before, and we need to use the same approach here. And providing that HCD gives a thumbs up on this material, we'll put it up on our website. No questions asked. We've got to get it done. You know, now that this is adopted, our main focus is getting this implemented in a correct manner. And last but not least, HCD basically produces their compliance manual that goes along with their standards. And just like with water conservation, waste management, recycling issues, especially with water conservation, that manual has proven invaluable in implementing the green building regs. So that kind of concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
So I haven't seen any specific questions come through yet in the chat, but I have to say that was a great presentation, Bob. Thank you. That's a lot of really good information. I didn't know that the CEC actually produces the full compliance. What do you call it? What did you call them?
Yeah, it's they actually produce two of them, one for non-residential construction and one for residential construction. Mm-hmm. And in addition to their standards, which is about 300 pages of incredibly complex rules and regs, you've got about a 600-page residential manual. That probably provides, you know, just as an example, as we moved into what we call the advanced wall assembly for, you know, a lot thicker insulation, they provide over 24 examples on how to do this. And for somebody that's completely unfamiliar with taking the sort of giant leap from 2x4 construction to 2x6, this really helped. And so once again, we've got websites, and what would be nice is, you know, different parking layouts, and then to show examples of how to provide this, particularly in ways where you're going to need a minimal amount of maintenance over the long term. That stuff is going to be excellent. And I know you guys already have a lot of this at your fingertips. And so you just need to get it to the right people. And I know that CBI, Calbo, and Apartment Association would love to get this up on our websites.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Thank you.
So we do have a poll that we'd like folks to weigh in on. This one we'll do. We actually we missed the one for the equity one, so we'll go back to that in a second. Why don't we start with the one for Bob Raymer's presentation? And I think the poll number 2 is what is a reasonable additional cost to a builder to provide an EV ready charging access. And then we've got a few percentages, 5%, 2%, 1%, etc. And I think, Bob, if you're still there, maybe to provide a little context, do you know kind of what the industry standard is on this right now, or what the current green code would require?
There is no real standard yet. And one of the big things that's happening in January is we're making the switch from what we call EV capable, where you simply have the empty conduit and a larger electrical panel ready to go. We're finally going to be doing particularly EV ready, where you're providing the outlet, to low power level 2. And so quite frankly, when you're dealing with multifamily, keep in mind that the profit margins, unless it's heavily subsidized by local or state jurisdictions, the profit margins are quite small. And if all of a sudden there's a 1 to 2% increase in the overall cost of that project can die. And so it's not like single family homes where 100% are already required to do this. So, roughly I'd say in the areas of 0.5%, but once again, an important aspect is consumer preference. Once you get a high level of demand for this, all of a sudden that becomes a highly marketable feature. And I have to tell you, it's obvious that a lot of the apartment owners and managers going forward, after they've got the EV ready stuff in their parking lot, they're going to be advertising that. There's kind of sort of a new niche that they can basically reach out to that'll be easier to go than the existing apartments. Thank you.